Okay, let's get started more Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. I unfortunately was not able to really level up much in Elden Ring today due to a bug. Basically, when I was farming runes, I died unexpectedly, and it spawned a bug, or my runes spawned in the air, and the prompt to pick them up, even while I'm like when I'm on torrent, I can literally stand in the like tree thingy where the runes are. But there's no prompt to pick them up. Same thing if I'm not on torrent. When I jump, the prompt to pick them up appears, but for some reason it's grayed out. So, and I guess it's because they don't intend for you to be able to pick up runes or do basically any action other than jumping or than attacking while jumping. So I'm hoping my character can get rolled back to before that bug happened. Fortunately, it was less than an hour in on grinding when it happened, so it's just a matter of, grind, equip a, sacrificial branch. Also, another thing, if I did look into trying to use sacrificial branch and dying elsewhere to see if that would, move the runes, because but it keeps them in the same place, apparently. It doesn't, it doesn't move them. But I'll definitely have to have a sacrificial, branch equipped in the event something like that happens again. I've got a lot of those, so it shouldn't be a problem. I'm just hoping my character can get rolled back to before I had 100 million runes become unretrievable due to a bug. Anyway, we're on part 3 of the trial. I didn't realize this was part 3 of the trial. This is definitely the last bit of the trial, then. 24th October, 9:11 a.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Yeah, the guy blew up, Enoch, rather, blew up the remains of the machine, so... Good morning to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Good morning, Professor. Ready for today's proceedings? I hope so. I should be. Even I, with nothing left to... Good morning, my dear fellows. Oh, Mr. Schultz, you're here. Why, naturally. A true gentleman stands shoulder to shoulder with his friends in battle at all times. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'll see you later, then. Now, Professor, we really need you to remain calm in the courtroom today. Yes, do try your hardest not to enter the witness stand uninvited again. Yes, I will. I will. Well, I realize that it was a mistake. I realize it was a mistake, but my dear fellows, I must interject. Oh, you're still here, Mr. Jones. What's the matter? Surely you've overlooked some praise, have you not? To be cast in my direction. Sorry, I don't follow. Yeah, he's up in time for court. Good on you, Jones. Thanks. Must I spell it out? I, the great Sherlock Jones. Must I spell it out? I, the great Sherlock Jones, the world's greatest detective, of worldwide acclamation. I was at some ungodly hour to be here now. First thing in the morning. A miracle, you must agree. Well, if I must agree, then... As you know, my sweet leap is quite impregnable. I also employ her full gamut of tactics. She put the covers off, shook me both cheeks, punched me and kicked me from the bed. Then she poured a boil a cup of her latest experiment or blend on my face, and at last I was bestirred.
Oh my, Iris has been busy.
Iris doesn't have it in her to go that far. She's too nice.
I sense the spirit of a fellow scientist. One who relishes on the infinite possibilities of blending tea.
I'm the one worthy of praise here, not Iris. This is my victory. Sorry to cut in. Oh, Inspector Grayson. Good morning. Gregson, my dear fellow. Why the grim expression at this delightfully early hour? I don't know, maybe because I've been confronted with a grimmer expression, eh? Dear me, are you going to take that insult lying down, Professor?
What? I don't know!
Professor? Anyway, here's the paperwork you asked for. What paperwork? I took the liberty of requesting it yesterday. I have a feeling it may prove useful. You wouldn't believe the hoops I had to jump through to get this brought out of the archives. It's the professor's autopsy report. Oh, the professor, the serial killer. And that's probably going to be the last piece of evidence we get then.
That mass murderers?
Who killed 5 members of the aristocracy. He was found guilty in a close trial 10 years ago. It was all done under wraps. He was quickly executed soon after the trial. That's all I need. Killer's autopsy report entered into the court record. Autopsy report of the mass murderer known as the Professor, who was tried and found guilty by closed trial 10 years ago. I don't know what to say. Thank you, Inspector. Condemned prisoner, redacted, confidentiality, pseudonym the Professor. Death by hanging confirmed at midnight June 17th by Courtney Stevens. Courtney Stevens? Same coroner. Supplemental plaque here. Look. Also burgeoning talent for the future of scientific discovery.
It seems rather ironic, doesn't it?
But clearly, Mr. Drebber really was a very talented scientist. Oh, really? There's nothing here? Or there's no information on the... I was really hoping it would say, like, Courtney Stevens or something like that. Oops. We haven't actually examined all the evidence here yet, so...
What an awful machine!
What the... I love contraptions like this, don't you?
Oh yes, anything mechanical, well, I find absolutely irresistible.
Almost irresistible, surely?
Well, whenever I see a pocket watch, for example, I can't help myself. I simply have to take it apart.
That's worrying.
Yes, Father tells the time by the rumbles of his stomach now. He's given up having to watch.
Poor Professor Mikotoba.
Look, Mr. Naruto.
What is it?
Oh, the bellows just here. There seem to be some very dark red stains.
Yes, you're right. It's like blood, actually.
Oh my.
I'm sure it's not what you're thinking. Dark working.
Yes, now there should be a class plate inside. You have to change the plate with each new photograph you want to take, you see.
Something wrong?
There is no plate. It's been removed.
Wow, what a pity. I suppose if you think about it, this wouldn't be the actual camera that was used at the time, just like the LEDs were just the actual person. So we'd never have found a photographic print of the executed convict coming back to life anyway.
Oh, yes, you're quite right, of course.
Of course, Sato-san is devastated. We just proved that this is a real camera, though. What is wrong with you, Naruhodo? I've already checked off of this, right? Yep. I think that's all we picked up that we had not investigated.
Yes, much obliged, Grayson.
Us lowly lot of the otter just doing what we can. In the shadow of the great Detective Sholmes, of course. Well then, Professor Herbreen, this is it. Today we're going to lay all this to rest at last.
I wish you the best of luck, Professor. Even though you won't need it, because we have the power of saves coming.
I suppose he'll be in there today, will he? Draper.
Yes, we expect the prosecution to summon him as a witness.
I'm so amazed you managed to find him in just one day. I really owe you both so much. Counsel and the defendant, the trial is about to resume. Kindly make your way into the courtroom at once. This is it then. The final chapter. Funny. My heart's racing. I've not felt this before, actually. This strange foreboding. Except something's going to happen in this trial that I'm not ready for. But I can't let that distract me from the only thing that really matters. Finding the truth. And there's going to be a twist during the trial. Who knew? On 24th October, 9:30 a.m. the Old Bailey courtroom. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the public hearing of Albert Harebreen, here present who stands accused of murder. Are the counsels for the defense and prosecution and defense ready to proceed? The prosecution is ready, my lord. The defense is ready, my lord. As promised, Lord Van Zeeks is here with him, his apprentice with memory loss. If I may, Lord Van Zeeks. Yes, my lord. There appears to be someone standing at your side. Ah, yes, my apprentice and assistant. The prosecution believes today's proceedings will see the complexity of this case rise considerably. I therefore instructed my assistant to attend to ensure the smooth running of the trial. The smooth running of liquid refreshments by the look of it.
The way he holds himself, the way he moves, couldn't be anyone else.
But he's still suffering from amnesia, so there's really nothing we can do at the moment.
I know, but this is so very hard.
appear that the prosecution has done a fine job in responding to the demands of the court made yesterday. I understand you have successfully secured the engineer who disappeared from the scene on the day in question. My lord, I intend to call him as a witness shortly. Very good, very good. Now then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, who have been chosen at random to represent the will of the people in this courtroom today, are you ready and willing to proceed? Of course, but I'm sure we all do. I'll understand the importance of doing our civic duty.
I do so despise deception and deceit. I find it so very rare.
To take a man's life with conjuring trick, it is against the magician's code, not to mention the law. I think scientists should feel the wrath of God, if you ask me.
May I listen to a say on both sides of the fence? Say on one. I say.
Was it like this in my day? Or was it like this at all? If all parties are ready to proceed, you may begin, Lord Van Zeeks. Before I do, my lord, there's a report I must read to the court. Yesterday, at the Great Exhibition grounds, the evidence of primary importance in this case, the super high voltage and instantaneous kinesis machine, which was installed on the experimentation stage, was deliberately destroyed in an explosion affected by an unknown person or persons. It was what? An explosion? This is an outrage! Yes, I heard this grave news yesterday. Scotland Yard submitted a report to my office this evening. I read that the machine was blasted to smithereens, and the wreckage was reduced to ash and in the flames. I have here a photographic print of the scene taken in the wake of the explosion. It shows what little remains of the machine. Yes, a terrible business. He didn't destroy the evidence, did he?
That Enoch Trapper.
The court will take this print as evidence, counsel. Post-explosion photograph added. Late yesterday afternoon. Look at this first. Protection afforded by the special dispensation for scientific equipment act was revoked. Also accidentally did that. So like this is very clearly there's very clearly an opening there, right? The floor has been blown open by the explosion. However, before a thorough investigation could begin, the invention was obliterated from existence. I'm looking over this to try to find anything weird about it. Huh? What's this? I don't see. I don't see it. I can't tell, I should say. As such, this will become a very different trial. As it stands now, with no more evidence on which to draw meaningful conclusions, the authenticity of the kinesis machine will remain forever in obscurity. Indeed, a most unfortunate state of affairs. one thing remains clear. The victim's death was the result of the actions of the accused. Of that we can be certain. It was the accused himself operating the machine who ultimately caused its loss.
Objection!
As Lord Van Zeets rightly says, this is a very different trial now. The accused accepts responsibility for his part in the events that transpired. He acknowledges that Mr. Aspen died as a result of the accident caused by his machine's malfunction. However, unbeknownst to the professor, he was being deliberately deceived by a pair of very clever fraudsters. Names, counsel, if you please. The engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, and the victim himself, Mr. Odie Aspen. So what exactly were these two men up to behind the defendant's back? The defense intends to expose that information, thus establishing the unequivocal innocence of the defendant. Thank you, counsels. The positions of the prosecution and defense have been clearly stated. Lord Van Zeeks, summon your first witness, please. At once, my lord. The prosecution calls the engineer, Mr. Enoch Drebber, to the stand. State your name and occupation for the court. Name, Enoch Drebber. Occupation. Name, Enoch Drebber. Occupation, hard to pin down, I would say. See that black monocle? Yes, why do I feel so I've seen it somewhere before? Oh, you too? I had exactly the same feeling myself. Your file indicates that you are currently being investigated in connection with another case. The theft of a waxwork model, is it? A most extraordinary sounding business. But that has no bearing on this trial, I assure you. Cleave it from your mind. You're familiar with the public experiment carried out at the Great Exhibition some days ago. The accused super high voltage instantaneous kinesis demonstration. Yes, you could say that. I am aware of it. That was a terrible accident, wasn't there? It was you, Mr. Drebber, who constructed the vast machine used in the experiment. So our investigations indicate. Can you confirm your involvement? Yes, I constructed it in precise accordance with the blueprints, but that's all. Then the court would be very interested to hear your thoughts about the machine, I'm sure. An amazing device, if you ask me. The pinnacle of modern science, making instantaneous kinesis a reality at last. What? Good gracious! Do you mean to say that the experiment was bona fide? Is that your belief, sir? Yes, that is very much my belief. Such a waste that.
Objection!
We've already established that the machine was nothing more than a prop for an elaborate conjuring.
Objection!
You've established nothing of the sort. All that was shown during yesterday's proceedings is that the same outcome could have been produced by means of stage trickery. The defense merely proposed a method and demonstrated its feasibility, nothing more. But... we procrastinated long enough, I feel. Witness, you will now give your formal testimony about the machine that you constructed for the purpose of the demonstration at the Great Exhibition. Understood. I met the young professor approximately 1 year ago through Mr. Asman's introduction. He provided me with the blueprints and I constructed the machine to his precise specifications. It was no trick. Why are some of these words randomly highlighted?
If this whole show was a fraud, it would have required a body double. Tell me, did the victim have a twin? All the spectators saw the birdgate appear above their heads and crash headfirst into the crystal tower. A terrible accident, I grant you. Perhaps the science on the machine on which the machine was built was flawed somehow.
A body double? What are you talking about, Ryunosuke? We already saw that there was the glass in... We already found the glass to prove there was a body double.
That goes without saying, surely. To give the impression that something has moved when in reality it hasn't. It's a basic conjuring principle. The deception cannot be achieved without substituting the original with a fake at some point in the performance. But would I be right in saying you haven't managed to establish anything along those lines?
Ugh. Incidentally, the prosecution has already confirmed that Mr. Asman had no twin siblings. It's my understanding that this witness is well versed in conjuring art forms. But such counts do not indicate that he was actually able to accomplish what he claimed. Namely, the construction of what by all accounts must have been an extremely complex scientific machine.
Whatever do you mean?
Yesterday's proceedings brought the true nature of your past exploits to light, Mr. Trapper. Wait. Understand the small person conjuring art. I understand that being the witness is well versed in conjuring artfulness. Sounds do not indicate that. Okay, so indeed it did, my lord. As a swindler who preys on innocent scientists to elicit government grant money through conjuring know-how.
Yes, it's true that I can possess considerable knowledge of stage magic. But crucially, my scientific knowledge more than matches that of any academic in the field.
Investigation of the witness's workshop attests to that claim, my lord. As evidence, the police found this Royal Society trophy for young talent in science there.
Yes, that's true. We spotted it there ourselves. If our hypothesis is sound, it can always be forced into a physical manifestation with sufficient skill. Though I may have sold the secrets of some deceptive wiles to sniveling talentless scientists in the past.
Would you therefore assert that the explosion of the machine was
an unfortunate accident, or, of course, a deliberate act of murder carried out by the misuse of science?
Counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, please.
Yes, my lord.
The kinesis machine. Blueprints sequence. No trick. Required a body double. Did the victim have a twin? Okay. Let's just press everything.
Hold it!
So you're already acquainted with Mr. Asman himself?
Not really, by chance. I'd just seen his name mentioned in the papers, that's all. But I had no interest in his private affairs. If he was an unscrupulous investor, it was no concern of mine. As long as people pay their bills, I take up my tools and construct what they ask for.
So why did Mr. Asman approach you in particular, then?
Who can say? I presume it's because my name is associated with excellence in engineering.
Not to mention excellence in fraud.
Hard to gauge, but the point is, all I did was construct the machine according to the blueprints I was given.
In other words, the kinesis machine was built on scientific principles.
Yes, you might say that. Professor Hairbrain certainly has a mind like no other. It's clear that you have both scientific knowledge and knowledge of conjuring magic, however. The more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to handle whatever comes along. But your implication is that I furnished the machine with some trickery, I think. It's a possibility that we have to explore. Unfortunately, though, the machine has been blown to Kingdom Come. So there's really nothing left to explore, is there? It appears that the kinesis machine was fitted with a timed explosive device of some kind. And there's nothing left of that device either. Not a single shred of evidence remaining, I hear. He must have planned all this from the outset. In any case, it's abundantly clear that the experiment couldn't have been a trick.
Hold it!
Of course, that's it. Mr. Asman was a twin.
Objection!
As my learned friend wasn't listening earlier, Mr. Asman had no twin siblings. No, I heard you before, but the thread of hope hadn't quite left me. The demonstration could have been a trick if there was somebody who looked sufficiently like the victim. But Dr. Seed absolutely ruled that out as a possibility. It is beyond question that the victim himself, Mr. Asman, did move from the stage to the Crystal Tower. The fingerprints found at the scene attest to the fact. So it can't have been orchestrated using someone who was identical to Mr. Asman, then. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruto? Oh, nothing. No, nothing. Just that the idea of someone who looked identical to the victim is playing on my mind. Alright.
Hold it!
Pressing again. You crashed head first, you say? According to the many witnesses from those there at the time, yes. Were you not there at the exhibition grounds on the day? Unlikely. I rarely leave my workshop. Yet another one of your unique inventions was found at the scene.
Well, it was the unveiling of a machine I'd labored over for many months. I saw it clearly with my own eyes, the bird gate plummeting headfirst into the tower. What a surprise! I believe the victim's neck was broken from the headlong fall, wasn't it?
How would you have come by that information?
Even infernal recruits like me read the newspapers, you know. According to the reports, 2 injuries were apparent on the victim's body.
Yes, he'd been stabbed in the chest by a screwdriver believed to belong to the defendant, and he had broken vertebrae as a result of a fall from a considerable height. Correct. My learned friend has been doing his research, it seems. Do we know which injury was the fatal one? Sadly not. Forensic science is not yet at a level where such things can be determined. What we do know is that the victim died having sustained both injuries at some point during the experiment, and since he was found in the birdcage with his neck broken,
it's obvious that he fell from a considerable height.
I suppose that's hard to deny.
Hold it!
So you understood the science, did you?
Not in the slightest.
Oh, right.
As I've said a number of times, I'm an engineer. My job is to manufacture according to the blueprints I'm given. I would be inviting manifold problems if I foolishly allowed my brain to digest the ideas behind them. I could be accused of stealing those ideas, for example.
How is it possible to construct a machine without really understanding the principles it relies on?
Well, you're practicing law without really understanding the principles it relies on, aren't you?
very good point. Stand up for yourself, Mr. Naruhodo. The point is, the experiment resulted in an instantaneous kinesis taking place. As such, the science must be sound. Yes, and really, experimental results are all that matters when it comes to proving a hypothesis. Certainly very sure of himself. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, now that the machine has been completely destroyed by yesterday's explosion, it's going to be impossible to argue its authenticity one way or the other. But if we're unable to establish that it was a piece of stage trickery rather than genuine science, we have no grounds on which to demonstrate Professor Harebrain's innocence. But Mr. Asman and the man in the stand tricked the professor and used him. They took advantage of his naivety and his unbending belief in his work, and I won't let them get away with it. I'm sorry, naivety being spelled without the accent over the E and instead having a Y threw me off. And seeing the professor is an old friend, and seeing as the professor is an old friend of Lord Van Zeek's, what on earth must he be feeling towards Drebber? Alright, so, twin, we present, I guess, the glass shard? Saving first, for obvious reasons. Taking a risk.
Objection!
It was right, but it was wrong for the wrong reasons. Present. Do I have to somehow open it? There's no way to open this, right? I don't think it's the camera, right?
Objection!
It's not that. I know what they're trying to establish. So they're trying to make us establish, hey, it was a wax one of the two was a wax figurine, basically. Maybe this? Because we found it at the stage.
Objection!
Nope. This is one of those ones where I'm pretty sure this is very clearly the statement we need to present on.
Objection!
Like, I don't think it's the camera. Let me try
Hold
pressing this one again. Of course it's it.
Objection!
No, he wasn't. That was fun. No, he wasn't. I heard you. Fingerprint. Get to someone. No, nothing. There's someone who looks identical to the victim is playing my mind. Keep pressing R instead of E. Maybe this.
Objection!
Maybe it is? Nope, not the camera. So this is tough because I don't, like... I know what they're trying to get me to establish, I just don't know how they want me to actually establish it.
Objection!
This is very much I'm gonna have to brute force this because maybe that's a red herring. Maybe they want me to show this.
Objection!
Did he have a twin? I don't know what... The problem is I don't know what they want me to present here. What the heck? Well, I guess I don't have anything to say about the red stain right there. So we had to prove he had a body double somehow. but I don't know how. Maybe an experiment sketch?
Objection!
Nope. This is only hard because, like I said, this is hard because I know what they're trying to get me to do. I just don't know what.
Objection!
We need here. Accidentally press this again. We definitely pressed everything. Said yeah, there's someone I don't believe is online. Maybe this is what we need. There was smoke, so they wouldn't have been able to see it, right?
Objection!
Trying it. Nope, wrong. I definitely think it is this. I just don't know what I'm missing here. No trick. The whole show's a fraud. Wouldn't get your double, double. Maybe it's the trophy here. Represent the trophy?
Objection!
Nope. It's not right there. Did I press this?
Hold it!
Where's the applications? And then case, I don't know if it wouldn't a trick.
Objection!
I don't want to look this up, but I'm getting to the point where I am starting to not really care. It's gonna be something, because this is very clearly like a weird logic thing. Like this thing?
Objection!
No. Yeah, this is one of those... It's been over 20 minutes now, I think, and we're still trying to figure out this one thing. Provided blueprints, shut the machine, he would have required a body double. Because like I said, I know what they're trying to get me to do. They're trying to get me to be like, to present evidence that there was a second bird cage or whatever, they're trying to basically get me to prove that it was a trick, but I just don't know what exactly to present and where.
Objection!
This. Oh, I got it! The bird cage. We examined the bird cage, the Crashed into the crystal tower. See, that's what I mean when I say it was a weird connection, because it even says, like, hey, it crashed down with the victim inside into the crystal tower, causing damage to its base. And it even says that the damage is like a 90-meter drop, so, like, what? Which, as you can see, or a 30-meter drop or whatever, as you can see, the cage is a wooden construction, which is wooden construction, has sustained some damage in one particular spot.
Following the explosion, it fell some 30 feet into the glass of the crystal tower.
Oh, it was only 30 feet.
That level of damage is to be expected, surely.
I agree. The damage itself is entirely understandable. What doesn't make sense is the location of that damage. Oh, that makes sense. All the breakages in the wood are at the base of the bird cage, not at the top. What are you saying? That's the opposite of where they should be. That's right, my lord. The bird cage that was at the scene is damaged at its base. So I have reports of the bird cage falling headlong into the crystal tower, yet the damage is at the bottom. The only way to reconcile these two facts is to accept that there were two bird cages in play that day, which were at some point switched. Switched during what wasn't a scientific experiment at all, but an elaborate piece of stage trickery. Garg! Good gracious, explain yourself, witness. Well,
If we examine the facts, there's only one logical conclusion we can draw. The damage on the base of the birdcage clearly indicates that it crashed tail first into the
Objection!
tower.
But multiple witness reports claim it fell head first.
The birdcage materialized in the sky next to a balloon flying over the stage, following a spontaneous explosion at an altitude of some 60 feet above ground level,
Which is approximately 18 meters.
It then proceeded to fall some 30 feet into the crystal tower during the ensuing deflagration. Witness reports amid such chaos are notoriously unreliable.
Objection!
But the victim's neck was broken.
Objection!
He plummeted 30 feet inside a heavy wooden cage. However he fell, it would be unsurprising to find one of his vertebrae crushed. A riveting scientific analysis from the prosecution there. To be even more rigorous, you would have to say it was only one vertebrae, though to be even more rigorous, you would have to say it was only one vertebrae, actually.
He wasn't quiet for long. I find it hard to see what's motivating Lord Van Zeeks. This witness is clearly a swindler and one who deceived a personal friend of his. If you're going to establish this deception, do it right. Sorry? I feel that's the undertone here.
Yes, there's one more point. The defense appears to have forgotten. It obviously wasn't a trick, as a certain truth plainly demonstrates.
What?
It seems to me the cross-examination had better continue until we resolve this matter. Mr. Drebber, you will amend your testimony with the details of this truth. Of course, we must treat the matter scientifically after all.
I nearly had him there.
This is good.
There actually is. I'm not sure what I'm not sure what it wants me to present exactly. I guess this post-explosion photograph, but we're gonna press first. What do you mean? Well, before the demonstration began, the victim was alive on stage in front of the audience. Yes, there are lots of witnesses who saw Mr. Asmund on the experimentation stage, that's true. And the victim's neck broke as a result of an impact following a fall. Logically, therefore, the victim must have fallen from somewhere. The balloon that exploded was at an altitude of 60 feet. The point of impact on the tower was 30 feet up. That difference of 30 feet is therefore the total distance the bird cage fell. And there's no other location from which the cage could have fallen at that distance if it didn't drop out of the sky. Ergo, the victim itself must have beamed from the stage into the sky above the crystal tower. A trenchant scientific analysis. Dear me, every time I hear it explained, it sounds increasingly plausible. Oh yes, it's all very well thought out. Certainly all the spectators on the day saw it. The birdcage floating 30 feet through the air, I mean. Irritatingly, yes. Alright. Saving again, because... Present. Post-explosion photograph.
Objection!
There's a giant hole in the tower. What the fuck do you mean? Present. Photograph of the balloon, maybe? I guess it would show how much higher up the presentation is rather than versus the spectators.
Objection!
Experiment sketch?
Objection!
Yes, it is. Okay. That's what I mean. There's 3 different things we could present there that should work, but it doesn't for whatever reason. But it didn't because, like, the game is, like, overly linear. This is a diagram of the experimentation stage and its surroundings. We know that somehow the birdcage appeared in midair before falling down into the crystal tower. A fall of about 30 feet, or 9 meters. However, if you examine the diagram carefully, you see that there's one other possible location in which the birdcage could have fallen. The same distance of 30 feet. No. Well, it appears the defense has a possible explanation to put forward. Go ahead, counsel. Yes, my lord, of course. You will indicate the place to which you are referring to on the same diagram. Alternative location was the wreckage could possibly fall on the requisite 30 feet. Over here.
Take that!
The place I'm referring to is right here. But that's what the birdcage would have been to begin with. This is exactly the point, my lord. Yes, the birdcage was in the machine on the stage. But what we must also consider is the height of the stage itself. Go on, Counsel. It turns out the experimentation stage was built on at a considerable height above ground level. If you look at the diagram, in fact, you'll see it's about the same height from above ground as the balloon was above the crash site. When the experiment got underway, the machine and birdcage were engulfed in steam. At that moment, the floor of the stage gave way, and if we presume there to be a void underneath, this birdcage and the one seen by the audience would have fallen almost exactly the same distance. Once again, my lord, this all points to the fact that there was not one birdcage, but two.
Objection!
My learned friend has no evidence that the stage had such a contrivance in its design. Someone is responsible for the criminal destruction of the kinesis machine itself, it's true. However, the stage still stands. And taking a moment to look at the photographic print of the scene following yesterday's explosion. Good lord, the metal grill that formed the floor of the machine is undone. It's almost like that's the centerpiece of the picture and something someone should have noticed immediately. Yes, most likely blown open by the force of the explosion would destroy the rest of the machine. The defense calls for the space below the stage to be investigated immediately. Mr. Drebber, it was you who built the kinesis machine, which means that it was you who built the two bird cages that were used to carry out this deception. Whether Professor Harebrain's hypothesis is sound or not makes no difference, because it's the construction of this machine that matters, a machine designed to make Mr. Asmon's life. And lay the blame firmly at the professor's door. Something like that, or something that could have only been carried out by you, Mr. Enoch Drebber.
Objection!
If my learned friend has reached the end of his wild assertions, the prosecution would like to crush the defense's argument slowly but surely. What? Your argument fails to hold water on two counts. Two? Firstly, before and after the experiment, this witness went nowhere near the kinesis machine. Every relevant member of staff in the exhibition has attested to that. And I believe members of Scotland Yard have also been on watch duty at every public experiment. In other words, Mr. Drebber had no opportunity to switch the alleged pair of bird cages. But I've already explained why he wouldn't have needed to. The nonsense of the crossbow, that doesn't bolster your case at all. The man who disappeared from the stage and the man who crashed in the tower are one and the same. The forensic investigations team is unequivocal on that point. Arg! And the second flaw in your assertion is a distinct lack of motive. Why would this man want to take the victim's life? He had no reason to do so. A motive? Do I have to think of everything myself? I have here a contract provided by the witness. What contract is this, Lord Vancees? The contract in which Mr. Drebber entered with the victim, Mr. Asman. He reads, Mr. Travers received 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income. 30%? Certainly a very favorable contractual conditions. But there was one important provision bolted onto that. Clause. What provision? Mr. Trevor may only hold this right on condition that both contracting parties are alive. In other words, if either of us were to die, the contract would become null and void. So you see, I had nothing to gain from Mr. Asman's death, the diametrical opposite in fact. Need I say more? The witness had neither opportunity nor reason to commit the alleged crime. In short, the possibility of Mr. Trevor having done as you suggest is nil. Since the defense's assertion was somewhat wide of the mark, Lord Van Zeeks, you will submit the contract as evidence, please. It's true. Investor Asman hereby enters into contract with the provider, Mr. Enoch Trevor, to fund labor and materials for the construction of a super voltage instantaneous kinesis machine. Mr. Trevor has received 30% of all remunerations from government grants or other income. Mr. Trevor may only uphold this right that both contracting on the condition that both contracting parties are alive. The Asman E. Trevor. Surely it wouldn't take that long to forge something like this, though. What do you mean? He could have done that the day after he did it, just to cover his tracks. Trevor had no opportunity to switch the birdcage under the stage with the one in the Crystal Tower. He couldn't have done it. And in any case, I had no idea what his motive might have been. There is one aspect of your argument that still holds true, however. There were 2 bird cages. The prosecution is unable to deny that. So I'm sure you're on the right lines, Mr. Naruhodo. And I have no doubt there are other aspects of your assertion that are undeniable truths, too. Well, it would seem the defense has no rejoinder to offer. Well, I must say I'm a little surprised. I came here to testify about the machine I built, and instead my reputation is defiled. But the prosecution's counter has set the record straight, I think. It's impossible that I'm the culprit.
Objection!
At the beginning of this trial, we believed that there was only 1 bird cage. Yet now we know there must have been 2. In other words, there was more to the demonstration than we realized first. I think it's abundantly clear that the same applies to the culprit. Get to the point. The stage demonstration was constructed and set up in its entirety by you, Mr. Drubber. Therefore, if it's inconceivable that you had no hand in the events that transpired. So circumstances mean it's impossible that you have carried out the crime yourself. It points to the fact that someone else was involved. Someone else? Counsel, are you suggesting... Yes, my lord. Mr. Drubber had an accomplice.
Objection!
Well, then I presume... you're prepared for what's to come. Now that you're accusing not only this witness but someone else for of the most serious of crimes. If these accusations turn out to be false, then make no mistake. The prosecution will demand an equally serious punishment for your slander. Well, counsel, do you intend to pursue this course and formally accuse another party of involvement in this matter? What do I do here? At the moment, this is a little more than a hunch on my part. I don't know for sure if Trevor had an accomplice, or if he even really is the culprit here. It's a good thing I had the power of save scumming, just in case I'm wrong. One way or another, though, I had to make my position clear as a lawyer. So what's my stance going to be? Did Trevor have an accomplice, or not? Quite intriguing. Well, name the accomplice, I guess. The defense is ready to name Mr. Drebber's accomplice. Somehow the two bird cages must have been switched. Everything points to that. And according to the coroner's report, that's not a possibility. But that inconsistency itself is a clue. Counsel? My lord? You've received a stark warning already. If you are nevertheless determined, then I must now ask you to identify this alleged accomplice by name. So, your answer, please. Who do you claim to have been Mr. Drebber's accomplice? The only one who could have made an exact, perfect likeness.
Take that!
Who is this person? Someone intimately related to the crime, my lord. And someone you surely wouldn't say you don't know. Yes, thank you, I'm aware of the person, obviously, but on what basis do you claim felonious involvement? What? You surely wouldn't say you don't— What? What do you— Okay, I guess it wasn't the person who can make a perfect likeness of the who could have made a perfect likeness of the victim. And essentially made a giant wax puppet. Nevertheless determined, I can know the accomplice. Has been, right? It's the only other possibility.
Take that!
Where's this one? What? He's the victim! Okay, well, we're not going through all that again. Are we really doing this?
Take that!
The name of the person in question is... What's wrong, my Nipponese friend? Surely fear doesn't bind your tongue now. It's a little late for that. Of course I'm afraid. After all, naming her in this capacity is definitely going to make waves. A lot of waves. I could very well turn every single person in this courtroom against me. I'm sure it will be alright, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know what our evidence for naming her is. I mean, I guess he can easily just lie on the report and be like, yeah, they're the same person. But thank you, Mr. Sato. The enemy always appears larger than life, but you'll appear exactly the same to the enemy. Alright then, here goes. You've kept us waiting long enough. Your answer, Counsel, now. The person who colluded with Mr. Driver in order to carry out this wicked crime? Scotland Yard's coroner, Dr. Courtney C. What in blazes are you talking about? Dr. C? The head of the forensic investigation team and the coroner who conducted the autopsy on the victim? We know that there were 2 bird cages, so who could have carried out the switch to complete the illusion? The accident happened in front of a huge crowd of spectators and the area was immediately sealed off. And everyone, police officers included, were banished to make way for the forensic investigation team. When else could the switch have occurred? It can only have been in that team's presence. It's essential that the court determines exactly what happened following the incident. The defense remains that Dr. C be summoned to the witness stand at once to testify.
You've got under blood! Standing up there, dragging the yard stand through the mud!
I didn't mean to...
I know the woman very well. There's no better temporary worker out there. How dare you call her a criminal?
My learned friend's imagination appears to be wilder than the East End at night. But the recklessness of your accusation aside, there's another grave problem with your argument, which the prosecution demands you address at once. A grave problem? Oh my word! Who do you claim acted as the victim's doppelganger? What? Certainly if the bird cage containing the body was exchanged, or the victim was exchanged for another. I'm gonna go ahead and save. On this other file. That cage must also have contained a body. And yet, no missing persons or accidental deaths of anyone even remotely resembling the victim have been reported. Which means there was no one dead or alive who could have fulfilled the role of a body double for Mr. Hasman. Look, it's true. My argument is that there are 2 bird cages and there must also have been 1 person inside of each. I don't know if I've got an answer to this yet, have I? What can I do to reveal how this body double set was achieved? I guess for now we'll present evidence. I think this was the correct thing. Present evidence. Very well. The defense will address my learned friend's concerns by presenting evidence that reveals the true nature of Mr. Asman's body double. Good gracious, evidence? I do hope this isn't filibustering, counsel. The court is expecting a name. If you think you have relevant evidence, present it now. The body double and the birdcage were hiding inside the balloon that was floating above the stage. Which means that any witnesses would have only seen them from 60 feet away. So who was it that appeared out of the explosion some 18 meters above spectators? Aha! The body double inside the second bird cage was the Professor Watswork.
Take that!
Well, that was the one. What? We will reload. We're not going through this. I know what we're saying. I know what what they want us to establish here. It was the Watswork of the Professor. It's so it's ridiculous that we got this glass shard and it's just been a red herring.
Take that!
We know that the victim, Mr. Asman, was in the birdcage that was situated inside the kinesis machine on stage. And therefore, he couldn't have been inside the second birdcage. Instead, that contained something else. What's been described as a body double, which is what fell from the sky and crashed into the Crystal Tower. Yes, Council, according to your somewhat elaborate version of events. And that body double inside the second birdcage was, in fact...
It's alright, Mr. Naruto. You're ready for this. Just steel yourself and come out with it.
Thank you, Mrs. Sato. I needed that. As I was saying, the body double inside the second birdcage was, as unbelievable as it may seem, that thing there. Why is this here?
Objection!
Open your eyes and look into mine, my Nipponese friend. Now tell me, what are you playing at? Stand firm now, Yonosuke. This is the time to show your Japanese spirit. And also save scum some more, because this game is... These games are... will very much have you wrong for the right... have you wrong for the wrong reasons. As the court will observe, this is a Watswork model. A model, in fact, of an infamous London murder from 10 years ago. The Professor.
Objection!
You started by indicting the leader of the firm's investigation team as an accomplice in this crime. And now you've moved on to indicting Watsworth? No, Vanzies, if you would follow, the body... that was just a body double. Yes, that's about the size of it. But why? And why this Watsworth? No, it's nothing like the victim. In fact, it could hardly resemble anyone else. What possible justification could you give? Now we have the glass shard. If you want to know why, ask Mr. Drebber. What? Just days before Professor Harebrain performed its public demonstration, Mr. Drebber abducted this model from Madame Tuspel's. Did you say abducted? And 2 days after the incident at the Great Exhibition, he returned it to the museum. The time. Is this true, Mr. Drebber? At first, I couldn't see why Mr. Drebber would have stolen the Watsworth and then given it back again. But now the reason is clear. He took it so that he could put it inside the second birdcage as a body double for Mr. Asman. Good!
Objection!
Are you hearing this, ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Are you hearing the defense's astonishing proposal? That the witness fabricated this vast machine with the intention of deceiving some wretched scientist. That he did so in collusion with the country's finest coroner on a public stage in front of a vast audience. And that to effect the deception, he used a waxwork model that in no way resembles the victim. Are we really to believe this far-fetched tale? What do you decide?
Objection!
Wait. Yes, if you put it like that, of course it sounds implausible.
My lord! I need to speak, if you please. Go ahead, Mr. Foreman. Myself and my colleagues have reached an agreement.
Time for unexpected voices. Very well, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you will state your leanings for the court to hear now.
Guilty! Guilty! Guilty!
Guilty.
Guilty!
Kill me!
So, as indicated by the foreman, the jury has reached a consensus. I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, like, nothing shows how... Here's the thing in these games. Nothing shows how weak the prosecution's argument is going. Like, that's a huge sign of weakness for Van Zieks, in my opinion. He just turns to the jury and goes, "Oh, do you guys believe what this guy's saying?" Rather than actually refuting it. We shall get through this, Mr. Naruhodo, as we always do. And uncover some new truths along the way, I'm quite sure. Yes, I agree. I'm going to have to appeal to the jurors as usual and see if I can persuade them to change their minds. The defense will now embark on a summation examination. Are you and your fellows ready to proceed, Mr. Foreman?
We are, my lord.
Fucking getting spammed by a scam job offer email. Very well. In that case, I now ask you to state clearly for all present to hear the grounds on which each of you has decided the defendant is guilty of the crime of which he is charged. Jurors' contentions.
I've known the woman for years. She'd never be accomplice to anything. It's utter nonsense that those who would ever be conniving with one another.
I thought for a second he was reading the newspaper upside down. Oh dear, this is much troubling. But surely the waxwork the man stole has nothing to do with the coroner, is it? I have my own problems with members of the police. I do not trust them much.
I see. In no regards proof the waxwork was ever inside the birdcage. It's conjecture.
You're right, everything's just a proper job, I won't have it. Somewhat unsurprisingly, it seems the introduction of this waxwork model to the proceedings has polarized opinions. Given that its face is obscured and its build in no way resembles that of the victim, I can only applaud my learned friends to merit it, suggesting it is Mr. Asmund's body double. Yes, the applause is deafening, and yes, I know it seems extraordinary. But that's the point. Okay, I think we're good to, like... I think we're more safe. This wasn't like a trap to get us to where we can't get out of, to where we just take penalties and lose. Which is something they've done in previous games. That's why I have a strong feeling it's actually a greater clue than anyone yet realizes. What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? I can't explain why at the moment, but I feel as though there's a specific reason why it was used, why it had to be this model. Really? A reason why nothing else would do, you mean? Yes, I'm convinced. something far more significant than whether or not the model looks at the victim. Well, if that's the case, we must prevent the trial from ending prematurely at all costs. Yes, agreed. I had to find a way out of this. Ready, Counsel, you may proceed with the summation examination. Yes, my lord. The defense's rebuttal. What? Oh. That's so— why did they start with juror sits there? That's so confusing. Alright, we're gonna immediately go to this guy. No rigorous proof. Just conjecture. You claim the whole instantaneous kinesis demonstration was a trick. Well, I did, but there's more than one way to pull a rabbit out of a hat. Just sorry? I grant you, given that this case appeared to have missed an explosion, there had been no need to use a real person. If lights were continuous, the culprit could at least have the decency to make it look like the victim. I'm not sure exactly how much criminals are governed by decency. The point is, if you're going to make a claim about that lights were being inside the birdcage, you need to give us some evidence. Without that, it's just not science. I suppose we should expect nothing less than a logical argument from a fellow of the Royal Society. But that perhaps means his mind can be changed if we manage to present suitable evidence. Evidence that Professor Wadsworth was inside that birdcage. Can we produce that or not? I do have evidence. Actually, I have something I'd like you to see, sir. Oh? I must warn you that I firmly believe it's only wise to trust men in white coats. So given your jet black outfit, I don't mind admitting a sense of trepidation here. So you don't trust anyone in black? Looking in the mirror must be very trying. I do have some evidence that proves the Wadsworth was inside the birdcage. Namely, this glass shard from the Crystal Tower.
Take that!
What's that? A piece of glass? Though it's unusually thick for glass.
Yes, it's a piece of broken glass that we found inside the jacket on the Wadsworth. As you say, it's not ordinary glass, though. It's very thick and clearly made for extra strength. Much like the special glass that was developed for the construction of the Crystal Tower.
Crystal Tower? Holy smoke!
Exactly. The centerpiece of the Grand Exhibition, where the very incident we're talking about took place. On the day in question, the birdcage fell from above and smashed through a window of that special glass.
From which the small piece originated. Is that it?
Precisely. So, what do you say? Now that clear evidence in support of the assertion has been placed before you.
Well, as I said, I only trust men in white coats as a rule. However, when the reasoning is sound, it's fair to say color should come into it. In light of what you've shown me here, yes, I feel obliged to change my position on the matter. In that case, juror number 4, you will amend your statement now, please.
What? Why did he amend the statement instead of changing his leaning? What? Huh?
Hold it!
Thank you for considering your position, sir.
Your words are misplaced, though, and my opinion is governed by logic and science, nothing else. Yes, science is where you should direct your words of gratitude.
Ah.
What's the matter with you? Too good to say some words of thanks to the mother of all academic subjects?
What is it about scientists, honestly? Did I hit a glitch? Surely that's... Oh, I have to pit... you against you now?
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious! The two statements do you prefer, counsel? If you could put down your corn for a moment, juror number 5. Oh, yeah, mate. You mean, mate? He pointed out that it's wrong to make an accusation without evidence, but the accusation that the last model was inside the second bird cage on the day in question is not without supporting evidence, as the evidence demonstrated to the juror sitting beside you. Oh, is that right? Would it be fair to say you didn't follow the argument? I don't understand. Colonel Cobb, to be honest. Of course you don't. Am I going to interject here? Please do, sir. Now that this assertion of yours about the White's work has been backed up by some solid evidence, it would be wrong of me as a man of science to not pursue the matter further. That's why, okay, that's why you have to change the leaning. So you can pit those two against each other and make them... me too, then. So you can pit those two against each other and get the... Sorry? And get them to change their leaning, okay. This region, it says that's right. They must be. I'm kind of going to Colonel Cobb or anyone who's got stuff in between these. Alright, 2 jurors down, 2 to go. Success! If you can call it that. The coroner.
Hold it!
What sort of problems? Let's just say we have run into each other on numerous occasions while I've been performing on the street. Right, I see. Obviously, artists such as myself cannot appear on stage as we work in close proximity to our audiences. So we perform our magic in parks, on streets and corners and the like. But the police use any excuse. Use any excuse.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to say in response to that, Mr. Ottermore?
Who are you calling a mass murderer?
Oh, sorry, my mistake. I got confused because I heard you look like him.
I don't look anything like the man. You want to be locked up, Sonny?
Thanks, Mr. Sholmes. Perhaps we could move on. I was really wondering if you had something you wanted to add in response to what juror number 3 just said. And clearly you do.
Back in my day, back in the good old days, it wasn't like this.
What was it like, sir?
We worked our fingers to the bone to earn the public's trust, we did. And by Jove, we earned it. People respected us back then.
Respecting you? How?
No one would have called a coroner into question in them days. The coroner's report was the hallmark of an investigation done right, especially when Dr. Courtney Stevens put her name to it.
Courtney Stevens, you say?
She was the best of the best, and the other voice is I.
Hold on a moment. What are you talking about? Who's Courtney Stevens?
Oh, it's alright. Got a bit carried away there.
Stevens is Dr. Seeth's maiden name. Her maiden name? Sounds before she was married.
Of course, yes. Silly me. It's Seeth now, isn't it?
Stevens. I'm sure I've seen that name somewhere recently.
Anyway, the point is, those were the great days of policing, not like now.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. But do you think you could change your statement to include that name?
Well, yes. I don't see why not.
Courtney Stevens, back when you knew her. Of course, legendary coroner even then. Whoops, I know it seems a little far-fetched to think the last model of the professor was in that bird cage. On the other hand, it explains a lot. But there really is a reason why that particular classwork had to be used as Mr. Asmus' double. We must do everything we can to make the jurors understand it. The truth is, I'm sure that's the key to this, but it's the most puzzling part of it, too. In that case, you should see what additional information you can glean by trying to change the juror's mind. If you can read a book while managing eating a rice cracker, Mr. Naruhodo, well, I'm sure you can do this. Right, yes.
Hold it!
She was legendary, was she?
What did you say? That woman is still the best coroner in the land, the head of the forensic investigation team.
Legendary is your description, sir, not mine.
Rubbish, that word never passed my lips. I'd never describe anyone that way. Never, ever, not if they were still in the game.
Wouldn't... I believe he's not fit for jury... This man is not fit for jury duty? I think the point you're trying to make is that Dr. Seed is an extremely talented coroner. Would that be fair?
Oh, what? What about you trying to drag that legendary woman's reputation through the mud?
I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that legendary.
Hold it!
We're only just starting to understand this case. What are you reading there, sir?
The man behind those murders on Silver Pond Street was caught in 2 days flat. That's real policing for you.
That's not really relevant to this case, is it?
Wrong there. Also stopped their seed in charge of examining the bodies. And it was evidence arising from her work that led to the arrest of the scoundrel responsible.
Oh.
That's right. Oh, the woman is the forefront of this country's fight against crime. There you go, let's hear some of this market justice is literally tosh.
I thought it was up to me to press the jurors. Me to press the jurors, not the other way around.
Hold it!
Why would you assume that?
Oh, quite simply because that unsettling swindler has no relation with the woman, does he?
True. As it stands, we don't know of any connection.
Oh gosh, but it would be delightfully romantic if there were somehow to have a mutual interest in the White's work.
Romantic?
Well, in society such as myself views everything in terms of relationships, you know.
Well, you learn something new every day, even if you don't want to.
One might wonder about a possible relationship between the defendant and this coroner woman. Or perhaps between the defendant and the handsome prosecutor just there.
This woman may be more astute than I've been giving her credit for.
If that's the woman's stance, then perhaps demonstrating some connection between the Waxwork and Dr. Seath would be enough.
Yes, I agree. Since we haven't even a live with a connection, she'll be the first to know. So can I present here? I cannot. Okay, let's present. Now that we've established that Seath was Stevens, let's pit 2 against 6.
Objection!
Those two statements clearly contradict each other. Good gracious, whose statements do you refer, counsel? So, juror number 2.
Oh gosh, me? What can I do for you?
I presume you heard what juror number 6 said in his statement. It's brought to light by the maiden name of the coroner, Dr. Seed, which in turn has revealed a connection that wasn't apparent before.
Well, naturally, as a member of society, I find such connections and relationships irresistible.
Yeah, I made that connection long ago when it was Courtney Seath, Courtney Stevens, Courtney S to Courtney S. Like, what?
Oh golly, I'm afraid I failed to see what you mean.
Dr. C's maiden name is Stevens, and through that name, the coroner is very definitely linked to the the last work of the killer. The defense has evidence to prove it.
My goodness! Evidence, you say? How utterly enthralling.
Counsel, the court cannot overlook that last one. I very much hope there's substance to your claim. Of course, my lord. I would ask the court to look at this. The evidence that clearly links Dr. C to the mass murderer known as the Professor. Should be this one, right? Dr. Courtney Stevens.
Take that!
I have here a certain autopsy report from 10 years ago. A 10-year-old autopsy report. What relevance does that have? It is, of course, from the autopsy of the person portrayed in the waxwork, the killer known as the Professor. The Professors? But that man was a capital offender, so... That's right. This is the certification of death that was drawn up after the convict's execution. The identity of the killer was never made public, so the report gives few details. But what's important is the name of the coroner who wrote it. Courtney Stevens.
Oh my! Courtney Stevens?
Strike a light! It appears that the professor's autopsy was conducted by Dr. Seeth 10 years ago. And a few days ago, Mr. Drebber very deliberately stole the waxwork of the professor from Madame Tuspel's. A waxwork that doesn't in fact resemble the victim, Mr. Asman, at all.
And do you suppose there's some unsavory relationship between those events?
Absolutely, I'm sure of it. There's no doubt in my mind that the professor case is at the heart of a link we have yet to uncover. Between Dr. Courtney C. and Mr. Enoch Drebber.
Mysterious connections, secret relationships. That is almost extraordinary. We're surely obliged now to explore this further.
Quite right. I can't let this trial come to an end now. Not while there's this cloud of suspicion hanging over the yard's best coroner. It wasn't like this in my day, but we're still here to uphold the justice in the end.
Thank you, counsel. That will do. As a result of the summation examination, the jury's overall leaning has changed. Two jurors now called guilty against 4 who call not guilty. Accordingly, the court has failed to reach a consensus this time, and the trial must continue.
We did it. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. A wonderful victory.
Let's look at the despicable professor, used as a body double for the victim in this quite extraordinary case. I must say it's extremely hard to believe the assertion could possibly be true. However, it would appear that it does at least want further investigation. It's the last one of the professor that links Mr. Drebber and Dr. Seeth. I'm convinced that there's a special significance to that link.
I don't know what you're hoping to do with that. I really don't.
The truth, sir. By using evidence and testimony.
If the court is to delve deeper into the alleged involvement of the waxwork in this case, then the prosecution calls for the owner of the model to be summoned as a witness. The owner? Madame Tuspels. I really thought that Lord Van Zees would object to this whole line of inquiry. Very well, I concur. Make arrangements for Madame Tuspels to appear as a witness with immediate effect. Listen carefully, my learned friend. Oh, this. You should know that you're on the brink of opening Pandora's box. The court shall now adjourn for 45 minutes. During that time, the prosecution will summon the new witness and prepare her for taking the stand. Madam Tuspels, yes. I shall see to it at once, my lord. To be continued. Oh, wow. Alright, well, I guess that'll be the end of the YouTube video, but we will not be ending stream just yet. Okay, I'm gonna save up here. And then we can still use this as a... And we'll also save right here. And then now we have a fallback file as well as this. Anyway, I'm going to end the YouTube recording now.